Kalimera, my friends, and welcome to another episode here in Greece. I've been staying in this amazing city on the southern coast of the Peleponnese Peninsula called Kalamata, but our adventures take us about 40 kilometers northwest to an ancient city called Messini. Messini was founded in 359 BC after a great hero named Epaminondas defeated the Spartans who had taken this region over and taken its people as slaves. The slaves were liberated and allowed to return to the ruins of an older village, Itome, named after the mountain it sat under, and construction was begun again, reviving an ancient place to be populated by its descendants hundreds of years after those fateful days. Today, Messini has stood the test of time and remains one of the most well-preserved ancient Greek cities in the whole of the country, and it was a place I knew I had to check out. Let's get it. So here we are, standing in the heart of ancient Messini, this beautiful, beautiful Greek city here in the southern Peloponnese. Below me here we have the main theater of the complex, and it's something absolutely phenomenal. It's been mostly reconstructed for modern use, but you can really see what they were going for here. And it overlooks this beautiful, unbelievable mountainous valley with the great mountain Itome in the back. At ancient Messini, you'll find marvelously well-preserved examples of Greek architecture, such as an amphitheater, fountains, temples, markets, and stadiums, all sitting in a valley underneath Mount Itome. Every time I come to one of these places and sit in these ancient Greek amphitheaters, it's really crazy to think that people built this in the year 350 BC, so we're talking over 2,500 years ago almost. And the fact that it's still standing and still in the same kind of position that it was in all those years ago, very impressive, very, very impressive. They were certainly built to last. Just behind the amphitheater, there is this huge sanctuary, which was built apparently for the cult of Isis. And what not a lot of people know or make a lot of connections with ancient Greece is that ancient Greece and ancient Egypt were one and the same for quite a long period of time. Alexander the Great conquered the northern part of Egypt, established the city of Alexandria, and there were Greeks living in the northern part of Egypt as well as being the pharaohs, the Ptolemaic era of the Egyptians, for a very long period of time. So what happened was sometimes some culture from ancient Egypt would pop up in ancient Greece. So what we have here is this sanctuary that was built to Isis. Isis was the mother god of the ancient Egyptians, and there was a statue found apparently like right over here with Isis nursing her son Horus, another ancient Egyptian god. And there were sometimes these cult-like groups that were spreading these ancient teachings of the ancient Egyptians here in Greece. So a weird connection between an ancient civilization, even more ancient than the Greeks, in a more ancient civilization, the Egyptians. I always try to imagine, and I know it's hard, but what people's lives were like in these areas. I always imagine that people used to live in these very stone-oriented cities. You know, of course you can imagine no modern housing back here, and everything that they lived in was this sort of grayish marble color that you find all over the site here. People wearing robes of white and wearing sandals and living a very humble lifestyle. But among this very humble existence, there was this art, this attention to detail, where you can find it in the pillars and the amphitheaters and the stone carvings. And it's all very, very interesting to me that people with so little, as far as technological standpoint, took so much time to represent the arts. Right below me, we have a beautiful example of Greek mosaic, which was commonly used on the floors of temples, of public bathhouses, of many different things in ancient Greece. And here is the foundations of an old temple with the beautiful Itome mountain in the background. And the most striking thing for me is that these columns are still standing after all of these years. And this column in particular is super unique because it has actually Greek letters that were carved in there all those many years ago. We're talking 350 BC, 2,500 years ago, still standing, mosaic, still pieced back together. Of course they do reconstruction work, renovations here, but the restoration process really gives you a feel of what it used to be like, but some of the stuff, it was still standing from the time period, which is just phenomenal. One cool thing that you can find in a lot of these ancient sites, especially the Greek-related or Roman-related stuff, where you find these in Turkey, even in Serbia, are these restoration tents. And so this is the place where all of the people who are working here restore and find the objects so that they can either place them back where they came from, or so that they can kind of have them laid out for whatever use they need. And the cool part is you can really see all the detail that still exists on all of these old stones. And over here, it seems like they're working on putting back together some of the mosaic that was lost in various parts of the place. So here you can see all the different mosaics that they're working on, and it's all just out in the open, so you can take a look at it, which I think is phenomenal. Another super interesting thing you can find, because these are obviously not on the top of buildings anymore, is you can see how the rocks used to interlock into the different sections together to make the buildings, of course, stable, which you wouldn't get to see if it was simply up top there. I think at this point in my Balkan travel experience, and having been to Italy as well, this is probably the largest example of a city that's semi-intact from the ancient Greek classical period. It's very impressive just walking around all the history and to be a part of something that's so ancient and so old, and it's still standing. You can still touch it, which is the most amazing part of all of it. And it just goes down here into this valley. It's so epic. What an epic place. Now I'm walking through a portion of this ancient city that was known as a pantheon. A pantheon was a temple that contained the 12 heroic gods, the ancient gods of ancient Greece. It was a place where people paid reverence to those gods. So you can imagine large cult-like statues that people could pray to individually. It was very much like how Hinduism functions, where each person had their sacred god, yet all gods were equally important. So the pantheon was a place where people could come, they could worship, they could bask under the Greek mountain sun. And we're going to go down here, which is probably the most impressive thing that I've seen from this period of time. Let's do it. If you're going to talk about epic Greek architecture, the gymnasium and stadium here in Messini is absolutely fantastic. I've never seen anything like it. So here we have the large stadium where Greek people used to do Greek events. And down there is actually a temple to Hermes and Apollo, the Greek gods that were responsible for protecting youth. So people used to come here, demonstrate their skills in the stadium. And over here, another amazing example of Greek architecture with the Greek columns. They call these stoa in the common vernacular, or porticos in another vernacular. And the last thing we have over here, which is very curious to me, is this very strange temple-like thing. So let's check it out. This strange structure in front of you is a grave monument to noble families of the area. There were 8 graves in here, and inside, even after plundering, they were filled with offerings that were preserved to this day. And up top here, we have a Corinth jug, a column, and then this very strange shape, which is not super typical for the Greeks or for this region. The most incredible part about this guy is simply its unusual shape and the fact that it was almost perfectly preserved. They say the majority of this was reconstructed with things found in this spot right here. And it's such an idyllic place to overlook the stadium, the stoas, the porticos, and this amazingly well-preserved arch here. I will say, on kind of a final note for historical sites that I've been to, especially ancient Greek and ancient Roman things, I'm not typically blown away. I always am expecting more than what I get. But this place is so fantastically preserved with an absolutely amazing variety of things to see that there's nothing I can really say but sing its praises. I mean, look at this old little temple here. So cool. Overlooking all of this is this beautiful mausoleum to the Scythidae family, who was a notorious and well-loved family of the region here. Many of the family members were high priests, and this was erected to house the remains of those many members of the family who lived here over the centuries. But look at this. Wow. Absolutely blown away. Just taken aback. And there's olive trees. I mean, if you love Greece and you imagine something like this in a vacation, this is the Greece that you need. This is the Greece that you want. This is the Greece that everybody needs. It's fantastic. Leaving incredibly historic places like this, I always feel humbled to have been able to come, to have been able to walk through the streets built by people long gone, and get a taste of what life felt like back then. I try to imagine myself in a society of artisans walking through a city built of white marble, a city that great heroes passed through, defended, and conquered. Today I am left with the ruins, but for just a day, it's fun to imagine. So that was the beautiful and historic city of ancient Messini here in the southern part of the Peleponnese region of Greece. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something new. What a day. What an absolute day. If you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. That always helps me out. And I will look forward to talking to you on the next video here in Greece. As we always say here, Iassas. Goodbye, my friends.